Hello everyone, it is Kean. I am back again for another long-awaited video. Second movie review that I'm doing for YouTube, and it's going to be for Halloween, the new 2018 one. There's now 3 of these movies that have that title of just Halloween, and there's really no distinction between any of them except for the Rob Zombie one. I guess you could say Rob Zombie Halloween. For this one, it's going to be Halloween 2018, I guess. It's already been dubbed that. That kind of bugs me, but whatever. We're gonna get that out of the way. I've been trying to do this video, but I'm busy with work and laziness and procrastination. So forgive me. I have to go to work in an hour and a half, so I'm gonna try and just get this review out there. I want to start this with saying that I am actually a huge Halloween fan. Well, not huge, but I am a fan of the series. I've loved it ever since I was a child. I have the complete collection on Blu-ray. It's not that big. They have like a big deluxe set with all the individual cases for each of the movies, and it has the producer's cut for the 6th one, but I just have the smaller one, and luckily they actually did release the producer's cut individually, so I have that one as well. So yeah, it was safe to say that I was very excited for this movie. I was originally going to do a review like right after I saw it, and then I ended up getting lost like after getting back from the theater because I had to take a detour and stuff, so then I wasn't in the mood, and then everything else happened. So yeah, I'm sorry, but we're here now to deliver this review. And again, if you'd like to just read like a written review, I have one on my Letterboxd account, which I'll link below. The written ones just like help me with my writing skills, and just, I know that some people like to read it, I guess, instead of watch it. It's more just like a supplement material. I don't know why I do it. It helps me stay in my train of thought while I try to do these review videos because I'm very, very scatterbrained. So that's why I have the written ones too. This new Halloween was one of my more anticipated movies of this year. Like I said, I have been a fan of these films since I was a child. I was actually like one of those children, you know, that would like draw those disturbing pictures. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, when I watched like my first Halloween movie, like I drew like a picture of like Michael Myers, and then I would have like a victim laying on the ground, and then I would like have a pool of blood next to them, and I would actually like draw to the blood and actually label it blood. I am that kid. I promise I am not a serial killer, but my parents were concerned. So yeah, I was excited for this, and this one I was especially excited when I learned that Jamie Lee Curtis was coming back, and that this one was going to wipe out all the other sequels and deliver something that was supposed to be the direct sequel to the original. And I'm just like, you know, this could be good. It could delete some of the wrongdoings of some of the previous sequels, and maybe it would do a good job. But unfortunately, I had a feeling of disappointment when I left the theater. I know, but you know, it might have room to grow for me. Like, it's not like a terrible sequel. It's not an awful movie by any means. It just did a lot of things that I thought some of the other sequels did, and there was a lot of like cliche horror things in there, and I just was kind of expecting something that would be, I don't know, just a little better than what it was. Let's get started with the story for this one. So this one focuses on Laurie Strode as she's older, and shows her as sort of this you know, survivor, and she's living with basically like PTSD from that night. She's always haunted by that night, and a lot of her anxieties have trickled down to the rest of her family. We have her daughter, played by Judy Greer, and we also have her granddaughter in the movie, which I cannot remember who played that one. Sorry, you guys have IMDb. Basically, her daughter is pretty much estranged from her because all of her childhood, she was basically taught how to fight back against Michael, and she was ended up being taken away from Laurie. And then, of course, they had to have Michael being transferred to another facility around Halloween time, and obviously he escapes, and then we have Halloween 2018. One of the better aspects about this movie was Jamie Lee Curtis and her story, and yet this movie focuses some on that for about half the movie, and then the other half it focuses on some really just dumb, pointless stuff that you don't even care about. So that was the real frustrating thing. But when it does shine on, Jamie Lee Curtis, she does an amazing job bringing to life this character that's living with PTSD. This one was also kind of like similar to H2O in the sense, that we have Jamie Lee Curtis fighting back against Michael finally. But in that one, I feel like she was a little bit more of a victim. And in this one, she's more of like a badass. She knows what she wants to do to defeat Michael. She's trying to prepare her family and get them on board with her. And like I said, we have Judy Greer, who is playing Jamie Lee Curtis's daughter, well, Laurie Strode's daughter. And I found that her character for most of the movie was very stale and unlikable until the third act when she kind of finally redeems herself. So at least that's the good portion, because I was ready to just write off her character completely. There's even like a scene where she basically feels like she's just reading off of a cue card. Like she's trying to talk about her childhood to her daughter, and she's just like, did I ever tell you, when I was little, Michael was haunting our family and my mom just couldn't let it go. It literally sounded like that. I'm like, not even joking. Anyways, her character kind of finally redeems herself, so that's good. And then we have the granddaughter, who I don't know who she's played by, but her name is Allison. And I thought she was very likable. She's a very 2018 teenage girl. She's pretty much like Laurie as we see her in the original. But the sad thing is that this movie tries to focus on more of her story, which is just like stupid teenage stuff with really dumb side characters that are there just to be killed. And that's the unfortunate thing about this movie. However, when we do get to like the final confrontation here at the end, you have like these generations of the Strode family girls coming together to fight back against Michael. All that to me was very satisfying to watch. I thought it was a very tense scene. I loved the camera work. I just loved everything that was going on. It was a very well set up scene. Although I thought the very ending is a little disappointing, but I'll get more into that later. Again, there's no spoilers in this review, but I just want to like touch on general things. Another real positive aspect of this movie for me was the score. The score is amazing. We have John Carpenter coming back, and then we also have his son Cody Carpenter for this score, and it brings back a lot of the classic sounds from the original film, which I really enjoyed. There's just some moments where that score comes in and it really sucks you into the movie. Even like the new like ominous little tracks that they've added to the soundtrack to distinguish it from the other ones are just really good. I even bought the vinyl of it. That's how much I love it. So yes, the score in this movie is awesome. It's on point. It's one of the better aspects of this movie. I will also say that Michael Myers here is like the most menacing that he's been in this series, probably since, I don't know, like in the original I find him to be like he's like a stalker in the shadows, but then I think it was like more in like Rob Zombie's ones, which I'm not like too big on those that much, but like he was very brutal and very menacing, and I found him to be very menacing in this one. It was almost had a little bit of a Rob Zombie Halloween vibe to it. I won't say that the kills in this one were like as insufferably brutal as that one, but there are some pretty brutal kills and some pretty gritty ones, and that's why it had that sort of feel trickling into there, and that was very satisfying just to see him being scary finally again on the big screen. And also like his mask I feel like is the best it's looked maybe like since the original. The Rob Zombie one was like very like kind of cut up and weird looking. Like this one at first I wasn't sure how to feel because they added like these like little wrinkles on it and stuff, but then someone pointed out to me that it was originally like supposed to be a leather mask, so that leather does naturally like wrinkle up and get rougher looking over the years. So I guess that makes sense. At first I was like, oh, are they trying to make him just like look like an old man? I don't know. It was kind of a weird vibe going on. But yes, the mask does look really good. At least it's not like that basic white, super clean, no blood on it, no dirt kind of look that was really fakey in some of the other sequels. But you know, I didn't just come here for the kills and the mask and the great score. I needed a really great story to suck me in and some really great characters, and I feel like this movie kind of flopped in that aspect. A lot of the negatives here basically kind of like outweighed some of the positives I have, which is why my score for it's going to be a little lower than I wanted for this movie since I was anticipating it so much. But yeah, the movie has sort of like a very weird tone and atmosphere. It's like there's times when the atmosphere is good, but then there's like these just long stretches where it doesn't feel like Halloween. It doesn't just have that really, when you think of the original Halloween, John Carpenter really sucks you into that story with the tracking shots and the music and just the set design with all the pumpkins and the fall feeling. This one, I don't know, it just felt very like studio movie 2018, you know, like kind of some parts felt a little like slapped together with it. It just didn't have that same tone or atmosphere that I would have wanted, since this has the backing of Jamie Lee Curtis and John Carpenter, you know, and all these like great people coming together to make something that is supposed to be the direct sequel to the original. I feel like there are some scenes here that feel like John Carpenter did direct it. Like there's like a really nice tracking shot that follows Michael through like this street of trick-or-treaters, and then he goes into a house and then he picks up a hammer and kills this old lady, and it keeps following him into like another house and stuff. And that was a really great scene. But then you also kind of realize that that scene is very reminiscent of something that you see in Halloween 2, and then it kind of seems a little like less original and less impressive. And that's the thing, is I feel like this movie, it just has so many moments that really feel like other Halloween movies that you've seen, and that to me is disappointing, since they want you to forget about all of those sequels. Yet here we are with, you know, the tracking shot I just mentioned that feels like Halloween 2. There's like a mechanic scene that really reminds me of like Halloween 4, although it's not like blatantly, but I mean, if you're a fan of the series, like you'll notice these things. And obviously there's like the bathroom scene that they show in the trailer, which is like straight out of Halloween H2O, and there are a couple clever nods to the original Halloween movie that I'm not going to spoil, but I thought those were well done. But then there's just other aspects of this movie that just feel like something you've seen before. There's even like this really weird twist I'll talk about a little bit more later on towards the middle of the movie that started making me feel like it was a little bit like The Curse of Michael Myers a little bit. It was going kind of that realm. Just a lot of this movie just feels like a rehash, and that's kind of the real disappointing aspect of it. And then when this movie isn't focused on Laurie, which is like the best aspect of the movie, it's just focusing on her granddaughter who has to go to this Halloween school dance, which is like so 2018. It's just, I don't know, it's a really corny, unrealistic school dance where there's like some teenage drama. She sees, I don't want to spoil anything, but she sees her boyfriend like making out with another girl, and they had this little like petty argument, and it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen on screen. Like, I just like, why are we wasting our times here when we could be looking at, I don't know, better stuff for this movie? And yeah, and then she's following, you know, a bunch of her friends, and one's like babysitting and the other's like just walking with her, and you know that they're just there pretty much just to get killed. They don't really flesh their character out or anything, which I know some of you will say, well, that's because it's trying to be like a throwback to like those 80s slasher movies that just have stupid characters, teenagers that get killed and stuff. And it's like, I know, I get that, and I feel like there's a right time and place for that kind of throwback if that's the kind of movie you want to do. But I feel like for this kind of movie, since it wanted us to forget about like the 80s sequels and really just kind of focus on this newer story that was going to be more like the original, I feel like it shouldn't just be focused on like really stupid teenage characters, because it's like 2018 and I kind of want some smarts about my horror movies in 2018. I don't really want all the just like dumb cliche moments, of which actually there are some pretty cliche moments in terms of like scares. There's a lot of like these like little stupid jump scares where you can see them from like a mile away, and it's just like a friend jumping out to scare them. It's like, how many times in movies have we seen that? We don't need to see that again in this movie. And then when there are like a good jump scare, if you've seen a lot of the trailers and you've seen the TV spots, most of them are basically spoiled in that when if they didn't show those scenes in those trailers and the marketing, then they probably would have been more effective in the movie theater, because most of those involved Michael jumping out. And I don't know, like that was more, that's not even like a gripe against the film itself, it's more like the marketing. But still, man, like just don't spoil. I hate when trailers spoil like pretty much everything good in a movie, and I feel like that was kind of the case for this one. You know, most of the time, I feel like the tone of this movie was off. There were just parts of it where I'm like, do you want this to be a comedy, or do you want us to take this seriously as a great horror film? Which I know comedy is sometimes needed in movies. It's needed to, you know, break some tension or to have a little comic relief, and it's fine in increments unless you're making like a horror comedy. And I felt like there was just too many moments in this movie that just felt straight out of Pineapple Express, and it's pretty much all thanks to Danny McBride, who maybe I'm gonna get some hate for this, but I'm not fully convinced about him being outside of comedies, because I feel like he's just too comedic to be in like serious movies. There are just actors that are like that, and he co-produced this and he co-wrote this. So you can definitely tell when those scenes come up that is his writing, and it just, most of the time, it just cuts through the tension like a knife, and that was a really disappointing aspect. There's even this scene, and again, like, I'm not trying to spoil anything, this scene is like in the main trailer for this movie. But there's a scene with a babysitter, and I will give it that the kid that she's babysitting for, he is really funny. He's super sassy. I love him. And but there was just a moment where I felt like he should have been more scared, and he shouldn't have been making the jokes that he was making. Because if you know in the trailer where the babysitter's trying to like close the closet door, and then she opens it, and then there's Michael, again spoiling a really good jump scare. You know, the little kid that's like sitting on the bed, as soon as he sees Michael, he's just like, oh shit, and he like runs away, and I'm just like, was that needed? Like, because I feel like that scene would have been scarier without the little kid doing that. I would have liked to see the little kid actually scared. I don't know. There's just a lot of moments like that in this movie, just unnecessary jokes. There's like the dad, Judy Greer's husband in the movie, he makes a lot of just like really off the wall jokes all the time, even when they're supposed to be like scared and in the moment. And then of course you have like some of the teenagers too doing their stupid humor about like, you know, sex and smoking pot and just all the cliche things that you can think about. Now, as I said before, there's this really stupid twist that comes into this film that I just feel like was so unnecessary. It's involving one particular newer character. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's just so out of the blue and so left field that it's the dumbest thing. It just was not needed in this movie, and as soon as it happens, you're just like, what the hell? I mean, this twist could have easily been taken out of the movie, because like literally like a few minutes later, they kill it off. Like they just, it's done, it's out the door, and it's not explored anymore for the rest of the movie. And it's just like, why was that in there? It just really, it hurt the flow of the movie and the tension of the movie. It was just very unnecessary. That's probably one of the more disappointing aspects about this movie. I feel like if it was cut out and it was done a little differently, then I would probably be more forgiving on some aspects of this movie. And also I feel like the ending of this movie, like the very ending, not like the final confrontation, but just the way that they decide to end it, I felt went in a very predictable territory, and it was just really abrupt and kind of just lackluster. I don't know. I really feel like they could have ended it in a different way. And obviously Again, I don't really think this is a spoiler because, I mean, it's a huge movie, so obviously they're going to leave some room for possible sequels, which, you know, of course, since Blumhouse now has money in this, they have to do the sequel. I mean, like, they couldn't just be Hollywood without having to do, like, a sequel. They have to make more money. I guess I find that to be more of a disappointing aspect, just because I was kind of going into this movie thinking of it as this is going to be like the final showdown, the real closure for this iconic horror character. And I mean, I just should have known. I did kind of like in the back of my head, I'm like, you know, this will probably not be the last one. They're probably going to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of this one. Really, it's more like this movie isn't that like final showdown kind of movie. It's more just like, hey, this is going to be another reimagining so that we can make more sequels, and that's really it's disappointing. I don't know. This all sounds really negative, but I did enjoy parts of this movie. It's just as a whole, I feel like it was problematic. And I think, you know, if you do like Halloween, you probably should see it. If you're kind of lukewarm about Halloween, you probably should see it. It's also like one of the only like scary movies in theaters, I think, for this Halloween season. So definitely go see it. It's worth seeing. It's not like a terrible movie. I just have a higher standard for this kind of movie because I really enjoy it. I really enjoy the series. I'm definitely going to probably buy this movie. I'm going to watch it again. And you know, my thoughts on it might change a little bit the more I watch it. I could definitely see like parts of this movie for me being more forgiven the more I watch it, but it's just I was expecting a little bit more from it. I don't think it's the best one since the original. I actually kind of think that like the original Halloween 2 would still be okay. And there's another aspect. Then originally in the Halloween 2, they revealed that Laurie Strode is the sister of Michael Myers. And so since in this one, since they're forgetting about it, they actually are like, I guess, canceling out that now. She's just some random person and she's not sister. And for me, I know some fans love that idea, but for me, I don't know. I feel like it makes it a little bit more convoluted of a story since he's not trying to go back after his family. He's just coming after her because he's obsessed with her now and he needs to kill her. I don't know. For me, that's just, I've been so used to hearing Laurie being the sister of Michael Myers that I can't get over that. So yeah, that for me is just like, I don't know. And also for me, I know this might be kind of controversial, is I feel like H2O is still my favorite sequel. I mean, this I think would definitely be in like the top 5s of best sequels, but like, I don't know. I enjoyed the Halloween H2O. I know it's like a really kind of like typical late 90s slasher. I just really enjoyed that one when I was younger. And I know it has like LL Cool J and all that stuff in it. I love that story a little bit more than this one because this is essentially, for me, I wish they would have called it like Halloween H40 because it's just like Halloween 40 years later. It's kind of like the updated version of the Halloween H2O because you have like Laurie and, you know, you have her children and all that stuff like fighting back against Michael. So essentially it's kind of just like the rehash version of Halloween H2O. Although I think that like the Jamie Lee Curtis character of Laurie Strode is a little bit more fully realized in this one, a little bit more realistic than she was in H2O. And it's just nice to see like that newer generation of the Strode family fighting back against Michael. All that aspect was satisfying about this movie. Just to me, I think that this movie is going to be a lot kind of like, maybe this is like a weird kind of comparison, but I feel it for me. I feel like it's gonna be kind of like The Last Jedi for Halloween fans. I feel like there's gonna be like some people that love it and some people that hate it. And there's gonna be like some people like me that are just like okay with it, but it's gonna be just very divisive amongst fans. And of course, you know, I think that there's evidence for all sides of that case, just like there was with like Last Jedi. But you know, for me, it was all right. It's a good sequel. I still think that people should go see it. But you know, I'll be waiting for those inevitable sequels, and hopefully one of those can like maybe replace this one in my mind. Anyways, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this review. I'm sorry that it's so late. Maybe if I gain more of a viewership, I will stop being such a procrastinator. But if you guys enjoyed this, please remember to subscribe, comment, like, share, all that fun stuff. I'll see you next time. Bye.